Podot.
Welcome to A Pod Too Far, where we relive the days when the only thing on TV was war movies, and all of them starred Michael Caine. Today we're parachuting into Norfolk, wearing our real uniforms under our battle dress. Yes, it's the Eagle has landed. I'm Robert Hutton, and I've got a plan that's just crazy enough to work. Joining me this week to escape his punishment battalion is Duncan Weldon.
Hello.
Duncan, so we've just done last week, Went the Day Well. This week, the Eagle has landed. Can you see why I wanted to do these two films together?
This is, despite everyone denying it, the more famous remake 30 years later.
Yeah, it's really odd to me that
Can I just say as well, though, we're very, very lucky because I almost got confused and watched the wrong film this week.
You were going to watch Where Eagles Dare, weren't you?
I was, yes. It's another film about sort of an elite German unit with eagles in the title made around the same time. You see why I nearly went wrong.
One of these podcasts will, at some point, feature Duncan realising 10 minutes in that he's watched a different film.
Yes.
But not this week. It is just amazing to me that I don't know if it's disputed. I don't know why there wasn't a massive lawsuit about this. You know, the Rolling Stones sue because people use a one chord and make millions. This is open and shut. It's got all of the same elements. It's got Nazis paratrooping in on an implausible mission, disguised as Allied soldiers. It's got a hostage scene in a church. There is no question. It actually, if you read the novel, have you read the novel?
I haven't read the novel.
Jack Higgins. Jack Higgins wrote a lot of novels. Do you want to guess what number novel for Jack Higgins this one was?
Oh, this is 20 or 30?
33rd.
His 33rd novel.
Jack Higgins' 33rd novel.
So he's doing 3-4 a year by that point.
He really, he was just churning them out. I have to say, having had a sort of teenage Jack Higgins phase, there is a point where you start to realise that you have read this scene before in other Jack Higgins books. That was just the point at which I stopped reading them. But this one is great. It sells 50 million copies. I think they've sold the film rights before the book is even out. The book opens with Jack Higgins finding the grave of the German soldiers in an English churchyard, which is, again, if you've seen Went the Day Well, the idea that you got this from anywhere else, at best he'd forgotten he'd seen Went the Day Well. I sort of thought it had come to him in a dream.
Other than the central aspects of the plot and the opening scene, though, very, very different.
The thing that I thought watching it, as I watched them back to back, the thing that I thought watching this with its opening flight over the Alps was how much money did they spend?
Oh, yeah. But this is different, isn't it? One is a film made in wartime. The other one is big budget and successful film.
So when they're making Went the Day Well, some of the actors are wearing their own clothes because there's no budget and there's no ration for costumes.
Yeah.
Not a problem here.
Yeah.
A proper all-star cast, and Anthony Quayle in for one scene. And
Donald Pleasance and
Donald Pleasance. We're going to come to Donald Pleasance in one of the categories. And Robert Duvall, just such a great actor. Is it too much that he's wearing an eye patch and has one hand that doesn't work?
No, it's fine.
No, it's fine.
It's fine. Because I'm going to stop you right there, right? So, we had the big debate with Went the Day Well. Is it a propaganda film? Is it not? What type of film is this? This one, it's open and shut. This is a thriller. It's an action thriller.
Yes.
It's an action thriller that happens to be set in the 1940s and may or may not be inspired by an earlier wartime propaganda film. Yeah. But it's an action film, thriller, caper movie, whatever you want to call it, which is made 30 years after the war. It's not fundamentally a war film.
One of the things that Jack Higgins did to help sell his book was he claimed that this is parts of the story are true. He sort of based it on he claimed.
The technical term for that claim is bollocks, though.
Yes, it is. Yes, there was a war. That bit's true. That's after that goes a bit hazy. He claims that the Eagle has landed was a real signal that was sent to Hitler. No, all of it bollocks. But sort of prefiguring the Da Vinci Code. He's a good way to sell a thriller.
Oh yeah.
Found out about directed by John Sturges, who Magnificent Seven, Great Escape. This is not a great John Sturges film. Apparently he tells Michael Caine that he just does enough directing to make money so that he can go fishing. And this is at the point at which Michael Caine on set realizes that the director's heart is not really in this movie, and then essentially having directed the principal photography disappears, doesn't stay around for the editing, all sorts of things like that which I slightly think you can tell watching this.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit.
The director's going through the motions.
Save our reactions for the end, but yeah. Yeah, you can tell. You could tell at times it's a.
Partly because they've spent so much money on it. Even though the director's heart isn't really, he's still John Sturges.
Yeah,
and you've still got Michael Caine and Robert Duvall, and you'll be fine. And Jenny Agutter.
Yeah.
My other sort of big opening thoughts about this is it actually is it against the law to aim a Sten gun when you fire it? You have to fire Sten guns from the hip.
That's apparently yes.
Yeah, it's sort of you're soldiers. You're trying to shoot someone who's more than 6 feet away. Maybe it's got a stock. Maybe put it to your shoulder. Squint down the sight. That's But what I do when I'm playing Call of Duty.
Yeah, but you're forgetting the rule of cool, which is what rules in this film. There's no.
The poster for this is, in fact, Michael Caine firing a Sten gun from the hip. Yeah. That's the film.
Yeah. But the opening reflection on this film is, and the really big difference from, say, Went the Day Well is, we've sort of inverted it in that the heroes are the Germans to an extent. I mean, or at least, it's a strange decision.
Well, so Higgins thought the book wouldn't do that well because he was the heroes are the Germans and an IRA man.
Yes.
And actually, here is an interesting commentary on the state of things in the 1970s. Michael Caine was offered the part of Liam Devlin, but said, "I'm not playing an IRA man."
But would happily play a Nazi.
But he doesn't mind playing an SS officer. Is he an SS officer?
No, he's not. He's not paratrooper.
No, he doesn't. He does. But he's a proper, he's a proper Nazi.
Yeah.
He doesn't mind playing him.
That's just the weird decision. Because you could have made a film more like Went the Day Well about Germans have landed. How are people resisting about it? Instead, this is a film about sort of a glamorous elite German unit on this mission to kidnap Winston Churchill for some reason in Norfolk.
What's interesting about what makes it work, having set yourself up that there is a part of you. So this film has got a number of sort of problems.
But we should also as well. They go out of their way to show that Michael Caine is not a bad Nazi.
Yes, well, so as it were, when you're presented with the one sentence version of this film, you say, well, your problem is your heroes are Nazis, and your other problem is everyone knows that Winston Churchill wasn't kidnapped.
Yes.
So you've got the sort of the version of the day as a jackal problem.
Yeah.
Where we know that Charles de Gaulle was not shot.
Yeah.
So we're going to struggle to make your film exciting on this basis. Yeah. And actually, what they do, they do it in Day of the Jackal. They make it a how done it.
Yeah.
How is he going to get to the point where he might? There's a bit of how done it in this. Yeah. What's really interesting is the way it's not just because it's Michael Caine and Michael Caine doesn't want to play a nasty Nazi.
Yeah.
You have to have the Germans as sympathetic. So they're sympathetic because at the start they've tried to stop the Holocaust-ish. They've tried to save a German woman, and that's why they're on this punishment battalion.
Yeah,
they are.
So this is the thing. They're an elite unit of German paras who've been fighting on the Eastern Front, who have interfered with the carrying out the Holocaust, who have ended up sort of banished to a prison camp Labour battalion in Channel Island, Alderney. And their chance of redemption is to do this ridiculous kidnap Churchill.
But fundamentally, these are honourable soldiers, which is why they want to wear their uniforms under their battle dress, and which is why they are discovered. Yes. This is a scene. I remember from childhood. Mm-hmm. Is the German on the water wheel?
Yes,
and I mean, absolutely seared in my mind from Sunday afternoon. This bit. He goes around. He goes around once and he's dead. He goes around the second time and his battle dress has come open and he's
German uniform. Yeah.
I mean, it's more vivid in my head. I realised than it is on the screen, as is so often. Yeah. But why is he doing that? He's doing that because he's an honourable man. He doesn't want to fight in a false uniform. Why is he in the water? He's dived in to save a child. If the Nazis in Went the Day Well
Yes, they turn up. They
not.
turn up, shoot the vicar, and threaten to kill the kids. And then at that point, do the villagers say, "Well, better deal with these guys." Whereas here, the Germans turn up. They're really nice. They even help save someone.
They save
and in the
a
process
child.
of saving a child, they reveal themselves to be Germans. Yeah,
yeah. So how you do this is you do make them very sympathetic, and actually, although the in quotes goodies are the American Rangers, you only ever really sort of see two of them as characters.
Yes.
Whereas you get a bit more of the sort of the lives of these soldiers. So the soldiers in this, who you sort of feel you could broadly pick apart, are the Germans, and of course, unlike Went the Day Well, where they're keeping hostages and they're planning to shoot their hostages, even though nobody's coming, they're just going to shoot some hostages because that's how bad they are.
Yeah.
In this one, the moment sort of somebody picks up and it might actually be useful to have hostages, they let the hostages go. Yeah. Because they're on the other side, but but they're nice and they're honourable and so on. I mean, actually, it's harder on the Rangers than it is on the Rangers. Sort of come out of this quite badly. I wondered if that was this is made in the mid-70s. Is this a Vietnam thing?
Very possibly. Yeah. US military reputation is not at its highest, shall we say, at the time this film was made.
Let's go to the after action report. They're on the cable car. What's the moment of this film where you start watching? Or actually, as is increasingly becoming clear in this podcast, how much of the start of this film can you skip?
See, I think it's got a strong opening. This film, and it's all very. I don't think there's necessarily a bit you want to skip because I think it's. Like if you jumped in,
putting the plot together bit is surprisingly good.
But you know why that is? That's because it's a caper movie. Right. It's a caper movie. So,
it's a caper movie where Robert Duvall is the central character for this bit. And he's all right. He can do that. Yeah. No, so I don't think that's a bit. I don't think it's necessarily a bit you want to skip. I think it's more the bits you definitely want to see. And I think that's that's because it's a thriller. Yeah. I think it basically becomes once the chap's on the water wheel. Yes. At that point, you're in for the rest of it. You could nip to the loo at various bits in the early part of it. I mean, if you walk in on the water wheel scene and you've not seen it before, you just have to pause it for a second. Whoever you're watching will have to say, "So Germans have taken over the village, but don't worry, we've already established they're really quite nice." Go. As the thing with watching these films, but the thing with watching these films in the 80s when you couldn't pause it, and very often when you hadn't seen the start of it. Yes. And I feel like almost all of these films, I first watched them starting half an hour in with my dad, who if he had seen it before couldn't remember. Yeah. So I not made easier by the fact there's usually the same actors in many of these films, and identifying who he's being in this one is who is Michael Caine this week. I'm a Nazi, but a nice Nazi. I think it may be that when we watched The Water Wheel, we didn't know that he was a German until oh my goodness, he's a German. Dad, they're Nazis. I now can't remember. I think that was a shock to me. Yeah. Sort of. Oh right, and then of course. Because he can't remember, and because we haven't seen the first 20 minutes, then we're trying to remember why they're there. Yes, you know? And at some point he might remember that it's something to do with Churchill. Yeah. Although, sort of the kidnap Churchill bit of this is very much the least interesting. Oh yeah. Bit of this it's just an excuse to put the Germans in Norfolk, isn't it? I mean, she's not so dumb. There are women in this film. Yeah. There's Jenny Agutter. Yeah. Sigh. There's Sparrow. There's the German agent who is a British chap in Went the Day Well, and this time she's a South African. She's a Boer, and her mother, I think, has been tortured by the British. I'm not quite sure the ages work that she's, but maybe very possibly sort of 40 odd years, 45 odd years for maybe. But yeah, so she gets agency. And there's Bobby, the priest's sister, but less so than Went the Day Well. Film yes. The women in this are not. These are smaller parts, and less interesting parts, and no one gets to kill one of the Germans with a hatchet. No, I mean, Jenny Agutter does. I'd forgotten that Jenny Agutter kills the farmer. Actually, that was a complete shock. Yeah. But maybe we at this point we should do the Dan Buster's Dog award for the most problematic moment, because I think the most problematic moment is the fact that Jenny Agutter is supposed to be 18 and Donald Sutherland is 40.
Yes.
In the course of their romance. And that
just
a little
1970s, different, very different time.
Different time.
But yes, you definitely changed that now.
Yeah, that whole thing. I mean, actually, so Liam Devlin as the nice IRA man.
Yeah, who happens to the nice IRA man who's just lecturing in Germany.
So the
Nazi
war,
Germany, but he's a nice guy.
At the point at which this film is released, the war has been over for 30 years, but the IRA are absolutely planting bombs.
Yes.
That's why Michael Caine didn't want to be an IRA man.
Yeah.
The IRA are at the height of of killing people, but Donald Sutherland's IRA man doesn't like planting bombs.
No.
Which is a bit right. So you're in the IRA. And you'll do anything to overthrow the British state, except you've got this whole list of things that you're not willing to do. It's just a little,
but you will collaborate with the Nazis.
Yeah, you will collaborate with the Nazis, but you won't plant bombs, and you don't mind the Nazis dropping bombs. Yes. To be clear, but you won't plant bombs.
He's a complicated man.
He's a complicated man, and no one understands him but the woman who is less than half his age. Yeah. I think when this is remade, Liam Devlin, who is a Jack Higgins character who goes on.
I did not know that.
Yeah, no, he's the only person who survives it. So there is a sequel novel called The Eagle Has Flown, in which it turns out that Michael Caine did survive after all and is in the Tower of London, and Liam Devlin has to go and bust him out. I can't say that I've read that one.
I'm going to read it.
I mean, obviously, you could see why he made it.
Yeah.
Would you like to buy the rights to this as well?
Yeah.
And perhaps he sold the rights, but that was felt to be implausible all round. And he goes on. Liam Devlin sort of keeps popping up. I mean, Jack Higgins grew up in Belfast, so he has his own view of all of this, and I grew up near London in the 80s, and I have my own feelings about IRA bombing campaigns. He's bought it, Sarge, for Best Death.
Yeah, I think it might be the water wheel.
I think
it's death. It obviously had an impact on you as a child, and it's a key plot moment.
The other one on my list is, in my memory, the German soldier is machine gunned while playing the organ.
Yes.
Now, there are different cuts of this film, so it's possible that I did actually see that. I realise, because there is a cut that is about 10 minutes longer than the cut that is sort of...
What's the rating, by the way?
It's a 15, which is... I mean, I think it might...
I think that's fair enough, given some of the violence. But it's interesting, because lots of the films we've spoken about have been PG or U or 12.
To feel like something happens at the BBC where they just start showing this stuff in the middle of the afternoon. I don't feel... I mean... I think...
Presumably the TV edit in the 80s.
I had to stay up to watch A Bridge Too Far, but I'm pretty sure I watched this at
Bridge Too Far, they definitely showed at 3 o'clock in the afternoon a couple of Christmases ago, I remember. But presumably they'll have cut...
Yeah, maybe to be fair to the BBC, maybe somebody does watch it before broadcast.
But yeah.
Yes, it's... I could have sworn that you actually see him... You just see him dead. I mean, he would be my other either nominee, or Larry Hagman.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the Cooler King Award for the most gratuitous American character.
Well, it's like a whole company of gratuitous Americans are thrown into the film, isn't it? But in a weird way. So if the idea is... I don't really understand the presence of the Americans. If the presence of the Americans is to make this film, more appealing in the US, then why do you have this incompetent company of rangers try to come to the rescue? Why not just have British soldiers messing it up?
Yes, why not have, and then the Rangers fixing it or something? Yeah. I mean, Larry Hagman, it is a good character. This is pre-Dallas, by the way.
Is it? Of course
checked.
it is.
He's known, but but I mean, but it is. You can see why he sort of thought, oh yes, I can have some fun with this as just a. And it's all very well done. Yeah. The idea of a commander who knows he's just about to get sent back. He's never going to see any action. This is his one chance, and he's not going to let it go. And in the fine tradition, again, this is 70s, so this is sort of post Kelly's Heroes and this kind of thing. Yeah. This is in the fine tradition of incompetent officers.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they knew they had incompetent officers during the war, but I'm not sure that you see them quite so much. You know, that sort of. It's I mean, I sort of imagine that they're, when they're constructing this, it's well, you know, if we have Americans in it, yes, that's an American audience.
Yeah.
And Treat Williams, who's the good ranger, sort of redeemed. It turns out that the Americans, once they've killed their bad commanders, they can then go and take a church.
Yeah.
You know, it is quite a sort of World War II metaphor about we have now arrived with overwhelming force. And, I also sort of, it's things that stick in the mind, throwing grenades through church windows. I don't think there are enough battle scenes in graveyards.
Not a phrase I've ever heard, not a phrase I've ever thought about. But I can see the...
They're great. You can hide, you've got big bits of stone that you can hide behind. You know, that's sort of... There's a sort of proper charge on the windows. There's an angle problem.
It's a great shot.
All of that battle around the church is that's a proper highlight for me. But I mean, I think Larry Hagman and the Rangers are the gratuitous Americans. Yeah. And it's interesting again that in Went the Day Well, it's the villagers and the home guard who win the day.
Whereas here you have to call on the professionals.
Yeah. It's oddly sort of retrograde. Good luck. The best meme. Soldier on the water wheel. Yeah,
probably. It's winning every category, but
it really is, isn't it? I mean,
again,
I often if you put that in your Twitter feed. Yeah, there's this chap coming up, looking quite dead. But I can think of things that you might use it for sort of the we've just realised what's going on.
Yes.
Because there is quite a strong we've realised what's going on bit of that is that's all very well done. That's,
But also very strange that, you know, they want to be two things. They want to be honourable by wearing their own uniform. So they wear their own uniform and then put the other uniform over the top. Does this not defeat the point of wearing your own uniform? On some moral level.
I think I have struggled with this
it's sort of like, you know,
about
fingers
40
crossed
years
behind your back whilst
question, you know, is that all right then?
Yeah.
You know, sort of stiffest upper lip. Are there any stiff upper lips?
No, because it's a thriller and a war movie. You don't need stiff upper lips in thriller movies. You know, it's
it's
a series of exciting. Yeah, it's an implausible plot. It's got a fantastic battle around the church, but it doesn't have the.
I've got one for you. I've got one. Robert Duvall realizing that he's going to be shot.
Oh yes, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
You know, just sending his aide back. So telling him just get back to Germany as fast as you can.
So you're giving the stiff upper lip award to the German.
Yep, absolutely.
The German planner of the operation. Yeah.
I mean, he just, you know. Well, let's go.
Well, it makes sense because they're on the losing side.
Yes.
That's when you tend to get
nastiest Nazi.
It's Himmler, the nastiest Nazi.
I mean, it's so nasty that he's got two pictures of Hitler on his desk. Next to each other, one in close up, one sort of wide shot.
I mean, to be honest, if there was someone in the film who could manage to be a nastier Nazi than Himmler, then I'd be very confused. And you know, very well done by.
Well, you say very well done by Donald Pleasance. I mean, it's slightly played for laughs. It's more Bond villain than Downfall.
Yes.
Also, weirdly, the music. So the music is done by Lalo Schifrin, who is famous for. Do you know what he's famous for?
I don't.
He wrote the Mission Impossible theme.
Oh, okay.
That's that's the first line of his obituary. And actually, my wife said the music for this doesn't really work. This feels more like a spy film than a war film. Others have different opinions, but I sort of know what she means. But actually, then you say, well, is this really a war film, or is this really a caper film or a spy film or whatever? But I mean, Donald Pleasance sort of clearly they got him for one day, and he's just having the time of his life.
Yeah,
that's Broadsword Radio. Completely implausible moments. I think basically it's when Michael Caine doesn't surrender.
Yes,
just surrender, Michael. You literally, if you make it back to Germany, you're in a punishment battalion. You've had at least a glimpse of the Holocaust. You've got some sense that you might be the baddies.
Yeah,
you know you've.
Well, let's just step back. Right, the Caine character makes no sense on any level. Like, on any level.
Right.
So, So we've already discussed. He thinks it's okay to, appear in a foreign uniform as long as he wears his own uniform underneath. Right. That doesn't work. Right. Just no. You don't get points for trying. But then there's also, he's a member of, he's a senior, mid-ranking officer, German para Volkskammerjäger. He's fought throughout the war, and then the treatment, what's happening on the Eastern Front, appears to come as a surprise to him.
Yeah,
I don't think that if you've been on the Eastern Front for 2 years, this is not a surprise to you, but it's a surprise to him.
Yes.
So then he finds himself off in a punishment battalion, and this is his chance to redeem himself. And then, so despite all of his doubts about the regime he's serving, despite having realised he is on the baddie's side, he's then just determined to kill Churchill for no seeming reason.
It's 43. You're on the losing side.
Yeah.
The whole plausibility of it's the end of 43 as well. We can change the war by kidnapping Churchill is like. I mean, they lampshaded at one point. They say, perhaps we can negotiate. We can, we can hold a better negotiation if we. But you guys can just land.
Yeah.
You can turn yourselves in.
Yeah. But it's also like, what is the game plan in this operation anyway? So assuming the operation had worked, they successfully kidnap Churchill. They get him into the small motor torpedo boat. They somehow make it across the North Sea. In the motor torpedo boat, they land in Holland.
People back. Have you seen Winston?
Yeah,
he was here a minute ago.
Like, you might be winning, but I don't know. We got this guy.
Yeah, yes. What's the imagined dialogue?
Yeah.
I mean, you in a sense, even if you shoot him at that point, it's not like Churchill was the strategic genius.
No.
Who was delivering victory, is it?
Yeah. So no, just an entirely implausible film on every level.
Yes, but Michael Caine should just surrender.
Yes, he should.
Okay. You've been found out. Yeah. The operation is a bust.
And it turns out, it sounds like from Jack Higgins writing the sequel, Jack Higgins also came to that realization because then you can be in the Tower of London and we can have an equally dramatic rescue. Movie two.
If you're Michael Caine in the church at that point. You don't know that. Why has Churchill got to come to this manor house? Okay, well, right. Like, there's a threat. I know it's not. In the line of fire.
Yeah.
But there's a threat to the Prime Minister.
Yeah.
At the moment at which somebody says, a whole bunch of Nazis up ahead, they're here for you. You go back to London. Fast. Don't go anyway. We've got this whole weekend planned. I'm going to smoke on the veranda. That's without a guard. You leave. So Michael Caine, surely, if you don't know, you would assume that the operation, we've blown it.
No.
Best we can do. Yeah. We've blown it. We're not going to keep the hostages. So we're not going to do that because we're honourable people. Surrender.
Yeah.
Go to a POW camp.
Yeah.
Answer the awkward questions about the uniform.
Yeah.
Frankly, the British are going to treat you better than the not. Because if you go back without Churchill, you're going back to Alderney again.
Yeah.
At best. That's a judgment at Nuremberg. How many war crimes are committed in this? I mean, it's the uniforms problem, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, yes. They're definitely committing a war crime.
Liam Devlin. I mean, it's tricky to know exactly what his combatant status is.
Yeah.
You get into some interesting 1980s terrorism trials question at that point. But I'm not sure if these are actual war crimes, but they're there's a bunch of people you could plausibly put against a wall and shoot.
Yes, for being spies or for
Yeah, that's the one bit of this that does actually have some kind of basis in fact is the Churchill impersonator.
Go on.
So Operation Copperhead. Do you know about Operation Copperhead?
I don't know about Operation Copperhead.
Operation Copperhead is the Monty's Double.
Oh yes,
episode.
Yes,
you do know about this.
I do. Yes,
and we will if it's. Keep listening. Keep listening, guys. Yeah. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, because if we go long enough, I've got a lot to say about I Was Monty's Double and Operation Copperhead.
Yeah.
But briefly, in 1944, the Allies use an actor who bears a striking resemblance to Montgomery.
Yeah.
to make appearances in Gibraltar and North Africa.
Yeah.
just before D-Day to give the impression that
The landings are gonna
D-Day
be
can't be
France,
imminent
yeah.
because Monty's off in Gibraltar. And that's obviously where the idea of the Churchill double. Churchill didn't have a double; he did have a voice double.
Yeah, he did lots of the
read his speeches for him.
Yeah,
but
because you couldn't record in the House of Commons, so they had to record those famous speeches afterwards. And the Prime Minister had other things to do than be recording speeches.
So there's a possibility that the things that we think of as Churchill aren't.
The voice double, yeah.
Duncan. Is this the operation that changed the course of the world?
just move on. Just move on.
Is this worth dying for? Does it stand up?
No, it's a perfectly decent movie that I wouldn't mind watching. If it's on telly.
A child did come and watch the second half.
Yeah,
of it
it's
with
perfect.
me,
It's perfect. I wouldn't go out of my way to watch it, but if I turn on the television and it's there, if I'm flicking through looking for something to watch and it's there, I will happily watch it, despite having seen it before. But I don't think some people love this film. I don't love it.
I think yes. I don't think it's a very. I think it's a not very good film that is made better by just sometimes you spend enough money on something, that just all of the. Jenny Agutter is not going to be bad. Donald Sutherland is not going to be bad. Robert Duvall is not going to be bad. Michael Caine.
Sometimes he's bad. He's not usually bad.
Yeah, no, okay, but yeah, he's
turned up.
No, they were terrible. He's absolutely turned up for this one. This is a good Michael Caine film.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. But ultimately, actually, I just think this is a less interesting film than Went the Day Well.
Yeah.
That was...
Can I just say, that's the most war movie hipster thing anyone's ever said.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This is oh my... What are we becoming? That was a pod too far. Duncan and I are going to change back into our original uniforms and head off into the night. Thanks for listening. That was A Pod Too Far with me, Robert Hutton, and Duncan Weldon. Thanks for listening. Please subscribe, and if you liked it, rate and review us. You can drop us a line at podtoofar@gmail.com or on Twitter @podtoofar. If you want to watch along with us, next week we're watching In Which We Serve.